Hey everybody, I'm back for my fourth Facebook Friday, and today I'm going to be talking about scheduling tools that will help you save time. This is one of my absolute favorite topics to discuss in social media. First of all, I want to say thank you to anybody who's catching this on the replay. I know not everybody can be here live on a Friday morning, but if this topic is important to you, then I'm glad you found it, and I'm glad you're here for the replay. So I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter today for a lot of reasons, not to mention I have to go do a Facebook Live for a client this morning. So I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter. Hey Kara, thanks for joining in. I decided not to do a scheduled one this week and to just go live at the right time because the scheduled ones were giving me some issues and I couldn't interact with the comments during a Facebook Live, and I really want to interact with you guys when I'm on here. So you can see I'm wearing my Hootsuite t-shirt today because I love Hootsuite and it is one of my favorite scheduling tools. But there are actually a lot of different types of scheduling tools out there that you can use, and depending on what kind of content you have and what kind of scheduling you need, Hootsuite might not be the best one for you, although I think it's great for a lot of small businesses, and I've got an offer for you at the end that relates to Hootsuite, so of course I do love Hootsuite. So the first thing is that today's topic is based on an old blog post. You know how I talked a couple weeks ago about recycling your content, and if you do a blog, you create an infographic, and then you do a webinar and you make tips and you do all that kind of stuff. So I'm really trying very hard to do that with my own content marketing. So this blog post was actually, my goodness, this blog post is from October 2015, and I just updated it actually this week. So last night I put in an infographic in this blog post. I'm going to give you the link here. This is the other reason I wanted to do it actually live, is so I could put links in. So this blog post is all about the 8 different types of scheduling tools that are out there, and I created the infographic last night so that people could have a little fun looking at my Scuba Twerp. Scuba Twerp is my favorite new twerp, and see the 8 types and print it out and put it on their bulletin board if they needed to, or share it with colleagues who are saying, well, you should be using this one, but there's all these other types of programs out there that will do different things. So have a look at that afterwards. Don't leave me now. Don't leave me hanging. And it will reinforce what I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to use that as my agenda for today actually. So the first thing is responsible scheduling. There's a lot of debate in social media marketing about whether or not you should schedule any content. There are marketers out there who believe everything should be done in real time. If you need to make a post, you should be there. You should make the post when it needs to be made. You should be there to answer comments. That there is no good reason for scheduling content. I disagree with that. I think there are lots of types of content that are worth scheduling. Anything that's evergreen, anything that's not going to change and isn't going to be affected by world events. So evergreen content, things like blog posts and videos that talk about things that don't change often. So in social media marketing, that's difficult to do because the platforms change a lot. But I do recycle my blog posts and my videos on a regular basis because I consider that evergreen content. How to do a Facebook Live, for example, that's not going to change a whole lot if you're using the Facebook platform. So that's evergreen content. It doesn't change a whole lot. Things like if you're a restaurant, by all means, if you sit down on Monday and plan out your specials for the week, there's no reason why you can't use a scheduling tool to put those specials in at 11:30 or 11 a.m. every day of the week so that you don't have to remember to go do them if you get busy or if there's an emergency at the restaurant. So that kind of stuff is easily scheduled, and anything that you want to repeat over time and you need some help remembering where it is that you've put that already, and so that you don't repeat it too close or you don't repeat it on top of each other. Those are some of the kinds of content that these schedulers can help you with. So there's different ways to do that. And Kara's just saying here, she agrees with me that there's lots of types of content that you can schedule successfully. So the other part of responsible scheduling is that you don't schedule things that require engagement, or engagement is expected or anticipated from the people reading your post. For example, don't schedule content about a live event that asks people to tell you about the live event if you're not going to be there answering them and interacting with them. So there was a really horrible example of this a few years ago, and I want to say it was a Radiohead concert, and for some reason I think I always get that band wrong. But a Radiohead concert in Toronto, the warm-up band or the practice band was on testing the equipment, and the stage collapsed, and the practice band drummer, I believe, died because the stage collapsed. The promoter of this concert had scheduled tweets going out after this happened saying, "Hey, how's the concert going? Show us your pictures. We hope you're enjoying." And they didn't get them down very fast. So they weren't responsive, and they had tried to schedule engagement. So don't schedule engagement. Don't put things out there that you need people to respond to. And the third principle of responsible scheduling is always, always, always be aware of what's going on around you. If you're talking about something that could be affected by weather, then you need to be aware, okay, we're having a major snowstorm, so perhaps this outdoor event is not going to happen today. I need to go take those scheduled tweets down. I need to stop them, or I need to change them or postpone them. Or there was a horrible event in our city. There was a terrorist attack, there was a bombing, there was something. You need to be aware of those things and how your scheduled tweets can be impacted by those, and how your scheduled tweets or your scheduled posts might be seen in a new light if they make any kind of reference to something that relates even slightly to those world events that are going on. So just be really careful about what you schedule. Make sure that it is evergreen. Make sure that it is something that you're not expecting people to engage with immediately, that they're not going to expect you to be right there saying, "Oh my gosh, that's so funny, I love that picture." So don't schedule engagement. Be aware of the world going on around you, and by all means, schedule things that are evergreen. That's my little rant on responsible scheduling. So now that you know about responsible scheduling, and hey, let's get a few more people in here. So if you're enjoying this discussion, if you think this is going to be useful for you and your friends, go ahead and give me a share so that we can get a few more people in here asking questions and talking about these different programs I'm going to mention. All right, so the first type of program is pick a time. And this one's pretty simple. You say, I have this post and I want it to go out on this date and this time. And you tell your scheduling program, put this post on this network at this date and this time. And it's a once and done. It's not a repeating thing. It's once and done. So Hootsuite is obviously a great one for that. Works with all of the major social platforms that you're going to use. TweetDeck works with Twitter. Won't work with any of the other platforms that you might be using, but you can use TweetDeck in the same way. You pick a date and time, and your post will go out at that date and time. And there's all kinds of those out there. So I heard another one called RecurPost, I think, does this. And there's Sprout Social and Agorapulse and HubSpot. So there's the inexpensive ones like Hootsuite, TweetDeck, and a bunch of other free ones. And then there's sort of the mid ones. Hootsuite might fit in the mid-range depending on what level you're at. And then there's the more expensive ones like Agorapulse, HubSpot, Sprout Social. So those are pick a time and have your post go then. That's one way to schedule things. There's no repeating there. Post Planner is another one that does that. You pick a time and it goes out at that time. Then some people want something that's a little less cumbersome in terms of picking times. So I call this set a schedule and add to the queue. So the most famous or the most common one where you would set a schedule and then just add things to the queue is Buffer. And I know lots of people that use Buffer. I use Buffer for some of my clients. It's really great for somebody who likes to sit down on one day or one evening a week and catch up on all their reading and add articles to a queue to go out over the next week without sending everything out right now. So you set up your schedule, you say, Buffer, I want things to go 3 times a day at this time, and this time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and 5 times a day on Tuesday and Thursday, and once on Saturday. You can pick your schedule, you can set the times you want it to go, or you can use other programs to integrate with Buffer to pick those best times for you. But then when you're around the internet and you're planning your content and you're putting out articles or you're putting up your specials or whatever it is you're doing, you just add things to the Buffer queue. So you just say, put this in the queue, put this in the queue, put this in the queue. And at 9 a.m. on Monday, when Buffer says I need something, it just picks the next thing that's in the queue. And then at 12 o'clock, it picks the next thing in the queue. So they're once and done, and they go out at that time. And then it moves on to the next thing in the lineup to go. Buffer is the most common one like that, but Hootsuite also has a feature that's very similar, and it's the auto schedule feature. So in Hootsuite, you can say, send it out 3 times, up to 3 times a day from all of your networks. You can't have a separate schedule for each network in Hootsuite, but you can say, I want up to 5 posts a day auto-scheduled, and then instead of using Buffer, you would just, instead of picking a time on Hootsuite, picking a date and time, you would say auto-schedule this, auto-schedule this, auto-schedule this, and it puts them in your schedule at the next best time for that network. So works similar to Buffer, but a little bit different again. So those are adding things to a queue, and the queue goes out on schedule. Really good for people who like to sit down, say on a Sunday evening, and read all of their emails and all of their blogs and all of their newsletters and schedule things to go out over the week. Another couple that work like that are Viral Tag. You can set up queues in Viral Tag. It's not a program I've used a whole lot because I use Hootsuite and Buffer and other ones, but Viral Tag and Tailwind are similar. Viral Tag and Tailwind are really good for Pinterest. So if you are trying to put out more content on Pinterest on a regular basis, you might want to look into those ones. Hootsuite, Buffer, well, Buffer, I think Buffer works with Pinterest. Kara, you might know because you use Buffer more than I do, but Viral Tag and Tailwind are really good for Pinterest, and Buffer works with Instagram, Hootsuite works with Instagram. So some of these have networks that they work better for, and others work better for other networks. So part of the process of choosing which program you're going to use to schedule your content is to figure out which ones work with all of the networks that you need help with. Okay, so the next category I have is it's kind of like Buffer on steroids, if you will. So it's to set a schedule, but to do it within categories. So you might say to your scheduler, I want something from my affiliate marketing category to go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between these hours, and I want something from my blog to go Tuesday and Thursday between these hours, and another category could be articles I'm reading, and another category could be programs I'm using, and maybe you have a category on Friday that's Follow Friday, and a category on Monday that's Motivation Monday. So you can set up all these categories, and you put content into those categories, and then you tell the program when you want those categories to shoot out your messages. So there's two programs that I'm aware of that work this way. One is called Meet Edgar, and I loved Meet Edgar when I used it, but I found it a little bit expensive. So I used it for a while. Fabulous program, worked really well, but then I discovered Tweet Jukebox. And Tweet Jukebox recently upgraded to Social Jukebox. It's no longer just Twitter, it's also Facebook and LinkedIn. And Social Jukebox works in a very similar way to Meet Edgar. You set up jukeboxes, which are your categories of content, and then you set a schedule for each category. So Social Jukebox is quite a bit less expensive than Meet Edgar, and they work very similar. Meet Edgar definitely has more customization, I think, than Social Jukebox, but it's really good for people who have evergreen content they want to be posting on a regular basis, and maybe affiliate marketing and all kinds of different pockets, and you want to spread those pockets out over the week without repeating things and without having too much sales stuff all together. So I'm currently using Social Jukebox to do a lot of my stuff and stuff for some of my clients, and I really like that one for being able to set that kind of varied schedule. The next one, and I don't see this a whole lot anymore, but it is an option that's out there. I call it a drip campaign. So basically, you would set up a list of, let's say, top 100 tips for social media. You would put them into your programmer, and it would post one tip however often you tell it. It would go 1 to 100, maybe once a day or 3 times a day. And when it gets to 100 and it's done, either it's done and you have to start something new, or some programs you can tell it to go back to 100. And they happen in order, so you could actually number them and go tip 1, tip 2, tip 3. So I call that a drip campaign. And the only program I'm aware of that does this right now is Social Oomph, which is a smaller, lesser-known program that's based in the Maritimes here in Canada. But it has some really interesting features. Drip Campaign is probably the most interesting feature. Unfortunately, it's not very user-friendly, their interface, but they do have that Drip Campaign feature. If you wanted to do a drip campaign in something like Hootsuite, you'd have to bulk upload your 100 tips, and personally I find the bulk uploader cumbersome to use, and I don't use that very much. So drip campaign is another way you can schedule things. I call the next one Triggered By. So these programs, there's two programs that I'm aware of. One is called IFT, If This Then That, IFTTT.com, and the other one is Zapier, Zapier. They both are very similar. Zapier integrates with friggin' everything. I can't believe all of the programs that Zapier will integrate with for you. If This Then That is a little more limited, but it's free. Zapier has a free program, but then you can upgrade to get much more integration with all kinds of things like FreshBooks and PayPal and all of the CRM systems that you can think of and all of the email systems you can think of. So if you want to do a lot of cross automation, Zapier's probably better for you. But if you just want to do a few things, If This Then That does a lot of them for free. So these programs work by setting up, in IFT it's called a recipe, in Zapier it's called a zap, and it's just a series of steps. So you would say if the most common one is to use them to post your photos from Instagram onto Twitter so that the photo itself comes out on Twitter. So you could say, if I post on Instagram, and you log in with your account, if I post on Instagram, post that picture with that caption to Twitter, and you log in with your Twitter account. And so that happens for you automatically every time. You would no longer use the Twitter button on your Instagram picture when you're uploading pictures to Instagram. If This Then That or Zapier would take care of doing that for you and put in your description, and now your Instagram goes out as a photo post on Twitter instead of just the link back to Instagram. That's probably the most popular way to use those two programs, but there are also other things you can do. You can use them to send automated tweets to people. I definitely don't recommend that, but the option is there. You can use them to do all kinds of other stuff. You can say, every time I change my profile picture on Facebook, change the profile picture on Twitter. So there's all kinds of things you can automate for your social media through those two programs, and I highly recommend that you look it up and see the different recipes or zaps that are available to you there. Then the next one I have is called Post Every Few Hours. So if you've got a campaign that you're running and you want it to post on a regular basis to say, I don't know, don't forget to vote for us in this competition, or so here in Halifax right now we have the Best of competition going on at the Coast. So if you wanted to put out tweets to remind your fans to vote for you in the Coast competition, you could set up a program to put that out every hour, every 2 hours, every 5 hours, every 30, however often you want. Now, you have to be careful with Twitter. Twitter doesn't like repeating messages within 24 hours, so you have to be careful about that. But there are programs that will do this for you, and you don't want to annoy your followers by repeating the same content over and over and over. Definitely don't want to do that. But Social Jukebox will allow you to put out a post that will go every 2 days, for example, and then you can intersperse that with other posts that are going on the opposite days. And you can set a start and an end date. So if you have the Coast competition and you want to remind people to vote, and you want to do it every second day for 2 weeks while the competition's going on, you can set up a targeted post in Social Jukebox, and that will go out every 2 days. You won't have to think about it, and it will automatically end when the competition's over. So you pick the start and end date. So that's another way that you can schedule some content. And the last one that I want to talk about for scheduling content are actually WordPress plugins. And I realize that not everybody is using WordPress, but here's one of the reasons why I love WordPress. There is a plugin for everything. Everybody should be using WordPress as far as I'm concerned. And if you've got a digital marketing person who is trying to pull you away from a really robust program like WordPress and put you into something that's more of a DIY program, you really need to ask yourself why they're doing that. Because whatever you want to do in WordPress, there's a way to do it. And it's not the perfect program for everybody, but it's got so many options. So here's one of the things I love. There are at least 2 plugins for WordPress that will automatically take your old blog posts and recycle them for you on your social media. So the one I use, and they've changed their name, so I'm always getting their name mixed up. The one I use is called Revive Old Post. It is a paid one. There's a free version that's very limited, but I did buy this one, and it was a hefty price. I think it was $75 US to buy it, and they actually want you to renew that every year to keep up with the updates and so on. However, Revive Old Posts goes through all of my old blog posts, and I'm over 300 blog posts now after 6 years, and it randomly posts on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn my evergreen blog posts. I don't ever have to think about that again. It pulls out the image and puts the image in for me. It puts the link in, and it does all of this automatically. So I love Revive Old Post. It does have some issues, technical issues. It's not perfect. None of these are. It's an ongoing thing. So sometimes, it puts out a blank post for me, or sometimes it puts out the picture and not the link to the article, which is very frustrating for me. But on the whole, it's getting my content out there on 2 or 3 times a day, and I don't have to think about that. And I'm confident with the content that's going out because I wrote it. So I know I want that content to go out. And I can also go through all of those blog posts and I can say, oh, this one, the information is no longer relevant. And I can say, don't use this one in those posts anymore. So you can customize it that way. You can set a schedule for Twitter, a different schedule for Facebook, and a different schedule for LinkedIn. And there's all kinds of customization there. The other one that works with WordPress as a plugin is CoSchedule. And a lot of bloggers, people whose business is built around blogging and reviewing products and promoting products and doing that kind of stuff, a lot of those types of bloggers are using CoSchedule. And CoSchedule is a really good program, and it now has the ability to automatically schedule out your old evergreen posts for you. It's a bit pricey as well. I think, well, I read recently that it was about $30, but I thought it was more like $50 to get the Requeue program. So I'm not really sure about the final price on that, but it will reschedule and recycle your content for you on a regular basis. And you can also tell it, when my blog post goes live, put this post out, and then put it out again in a week, and put it out again in 3 weeks, and then add it to the evergreen rotation. I'm back. Okay, good. Just a little blip there. I'm not sure what happened with my Wi-Fi, but I cut out for a second. Yeah, so CoSchedule is another great plugin for the back end of your WordPress. Now, those are the only two programs that I'm aware of that plug into your WordPress and automatically recycle your evergreen content. If anybody knows about another one, I would love to check it out, because neither of those programs does exactly what it is that I'm looking for. I'm starting to think I need to create my own WordPress plugin that will twerpify my stuff. So we'll see about that. But if you know of another plugin for WordPress that helps recycle content, I would love to hear about it. So those are the 8 different types of schedulers that are out there. And I'm not using all of these every day, but I am using a lot of them on a regular basis. So the set a schedule, I use that. I use Hootsuite every day, multiple times a day for all of my clients. I use the set a schedule and add to a queue. So Buffer, I do have clients on Buffer. I use Tailwind when I'm doing Pinterest marketing. Set a schedule with varied categories, add it to a queue. So I'm using Social Jukebox myself to do my affiliate marketing and promotions and my Tip Tuesdays and all that kind of stuff. The drip campaign with Social Oomph, I'm not personally using Social Oomph for anything right now, but that's the only one I know that does that. We have Triggered By, so if this happens, then do this. If this, then that, and Zapier. I do use both of those. I'm using if this, then that to post Instagram photos over to Twitter for a lot of my clients. Post every few hours with Social Jukebox. I do use that when a new blog post comes out. I will tell it to post every so often, and I'll intersperse that so I don't have the same post repeating every day. And then I'm using Revival Post in my WordPress. So there's actually only a couple of programs there that I'm not using, and it seems like a lot of programs, but it really helps keep the content going out without you having to think about it a whole lot. And it's one of the ways you can really be responsible about your scheduling. So Kara's asking me here, have I looked more at Zoho since we met them at the Social Media Marketing World Conference? And I haven't had time to really look into it. I'm really happy with the programs that I have right now. I'm really happy with Hootsuite, obviously. I love Hootsuite. And I just have, it seems like a huge monumental task for me to switch to something else unless there's a really good indication there's a huge benefit for me. So I haven't looked into Zoho Social, but it did look like a promising program for setting a time, picking a time and date to schedule things. So I should add that to my infographic, Zoho Social. Okay, so Hootsuite is the program that I choose to use. And I talk a lot about Hootsuite. I've written a lot of blogs about Hootsuite, and guys, I can't tell you how excited I am to finally today be launching my Hootsuite ebook. This book has been on my radar and in my to-do list for, I think, 4 years, and I finally this year met the perfect person to help me get this book out, and she helped me get it all organized and make it look beautiful. And I'm so proud of this ebook to help people set up, optimize, and learn how to use Hootsuite to save themselves time on social media. So the book is called Hootsuite Essentials. Pretty simple. It will walk you through the process of setting up your Hootsuite account for the very first time. If you already have an old Hootsuite account that you've never really logged in and used, it will walk you through the process of reclaiming that account. So once you've gotten logged in, how to attach your Twitter and Facebook to Hootsuite, how to post, how to cross post so you can post the same content to Twitter and Facebook if you want, and if you do it carefully. And it talks about why you need to be careful about how you do that. It walks you through how to set up a contest. So Hootsuite actually has a platform for doing really simple contests on Facebook. So there's a chapter on doing that. There's a chapter on a little bit of information on looking at your analytics. There's information on using Twitter lists and how to search for conversations that can help your business. So I've tried to put everything in here that a new user to Hootsuite would need to understand in order to be able to successfully use Hootsuite to manage their social media. It's not everything. It is not all of the stuff. It's, you know, I could write a whole book on analytics, and so there's just a little bit of information on analytics. It's not meant to be the overwhelming definitive guide to Hootsuite. It's meant to get you started. It's meant to help you get it up there, get it working, and help you understand how to make the posts and how to find the conversations and how to optimize it so it makes sense. What I heard from a lot of people is that they would set up this program to help them, and they get in there and they didn't know what they were doing. So this book will help you figure out how to use Hootsuite so that you can save yourself some time, because once you've figured out how to use Hootsuite and you see everything in columns and you don't have to look in 5 different places to find everything you need on Twitter, that right there saves you time. If you don't have to wait for your internet to click through to 5 different places on Twitter to see your mentions, to see your private messages, to see your tweets, and not to mention you can schedule things to go out and see your list of scheduled tweets, that saves you so much time when you're a small business owner trying to do your own social media marketing. So I've given you the link there, and I've opened the cart this morning. This is the very first time this ebook has been available, and it is going to be $19.99, and hopefully I'm just refreshing my page to make sure the sale price went up. It didn't. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix it. It's going to be $9.99 for the first 2 weeks as soon as I can get in there and fix that price for you. So I hope you'll find that useful. I'd love to have your feedback and reviews. I do plan to do updates on this book to keep it going and maybe add new things to it. I hope that you'll find it really useful for saving you time and managing your social media marketing. So that's my thing for today. That's my ending for today, is that the Hootsuite Essentials book is there and you can buy it. It's $9.99 Canadian in 5 minutes when I change that. And please send me your feedback. And the last thing before I go, I've really enjoyed doing these Friday morning Facebook Lives. If you've got a topic you'd like me to cover in a Facebook Live, let me know. Send me a message to my Facebook page or email or tweet me, however is best for you. Let me know what you want me to cover on Facebook Live. I'm going to see if I can keep this going every Friday morning because it's kind of a good way to start my Fridays and end my week, and I enjoy doing it. So thanks for tuning in today. Thanks to everybody who's watched on the replay, and go over and grab the book while it's on sale for $9.99 and let me know what you think of it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Bye.